Hey guys, it is Carl Brown for guitarlessons365.com. Great one from Randy Rhoads and Ozzy Osbourne today. One of the very few I have left to do. I've just got a few songs that Randy did with Ozzy left. We're gonna do S.A.T.O, by far the most requested one of his that I haven't done yet. So we're gonna get into this. Got some crazy guitar stuff in this. Great rhythm guitar work. That intro right there I just played is actually an approximation of multiple like acoustics and electrics playing. And I'm just trying to approximate it so we can just kind of do it on one guitar. But it ain't like he's playing on the recording. Quite obvious. But you can still make it sound similar and kind of cool and do it with just one person. So we're going to do it like that. But then we're going to go through all the riffs, most of the fills. The very ending of the song, he just literally pulls out all these different fills all over the place. My aging brain, it just taps out after a while of memorizing all this stuff. So I'm not going to cover that. Most of the fills leading up to that, though, and of course we're going to do the solo note for note. So I got a lot ahead of us here. So hope you guys will join along for the whole thing. If not, just let it play anyway. Helps. It really does. Now, if you really want to support what I do on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Ring the bell. And join my Guitar Academy. Link in the description. Free 7-day trial if you've never had an account. And that link gives you 40% off my annual rate. That's a YouTube only link. So if you go to my Academy, you're not going to see that price, but you'll see it here. Just click there. Takes you right there. And you'll have that price for life. All right, I'm not going to jack up the price. As long as you keep your account active, it's going to be the same price years down the road. All right, let's jump into this. I am in standard tuning. So this intro here, I was going to skip it. I was like, man, there's just so much going on in this intro, and it's just like, and it's really kind of, a lot of it has to do with like the bass and everything holding this kind of E going on, and then they kind of all the chords over it. So I'm just gonna kind of mimic that a little bit and see what we can do. So it just starts off with the basic E minor chord, and then the high E, B, and the high E open. So I'm kind of always kind of strumming a chord and then doing a couple of individual notes. So that's what we're going to do for the first one. The second one, we're just going to take a C major chord. So we're going to still keep this E in the bass there. Gives it quite an eerie sound. So just strum a normal C major chord on top with this E in the bass. But then pick up that note on the B string, and then once again pick the high E, B, open B, and then the high E. So we have this so far. All right, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna play the low E, 4th fret there on the, it's basically, it's an A major add 9 chord, but it is in, it's got E in the bass there, so it's in second inversion here. So we're gonna be playing the low E string open, 4th fret there on the A string, 2nd fret there on the D. So start there, just like those 3 strings. And then what I'm going to play the 2nd fret there on the G individually, then open B, and then open high E string. And then you can go to the D here, which is, I'm playing this because you hear this F sharp kind of in the voicing in there. And I'm kind of choosing right there. You don't hear the low E in the bass as much, but I'm keeping it. I want to keep that vibe. So I'm just playing this D major, so it's open E, the 5th fret there on the A, 4th on the D, 2nd on the G, 3rd on the B string, open high E string. So it's strummed like those bottom notes, and then those top high E, B string with that 3rd fret there, and then the high E again. So far with this. And then the rest I'm going to kind of do similar. We're going to repeat it again, but a little different on this E minor. We have this. So we strum the E minor first, and then the open B, then the 2nd fret on the high E string, and then open it high E. So it's got a little different melody there. The second time through the chords. Same thing on the C. And then pretty much the same thing on the D, except you'll strum the chord and then just pick the 3 notes at the end. Just going from the high E to the B to the G string. And then you're going to repeat all of that one more time. So let's play through all those chords twice, and then it gets to the main riff that kicks in with the track here. All right, so then we have the main riff come in over that D where you come in, you hear the band come in, and he comes in with this, he's gonna start that and then go into the riff, kind of this main riff, looks like this. All right, so it's to start with that 3-2-0 in the low E string, and then. So really, this riff, we're going to talk about the rhythm a little bit. So it's really based around mostly like this power chord of the 7th fret. So it's this and this one of the 3rd fret. So it's just kind of the 7th fret there on the A, 9 on the D and the G. But probably even more important than that is those high strings, is the open B and the high E. So you really want to accentuate those. So I'm kind of hitting this chord, and then the top 2 strings, and then kind of down, up, down, muted on the A string. And then 2 hits on the. And then kind of the same thing. So when you're transitioning between the 2 chords, it's not a huge, kind of these muted hits in the transition. Kind of so you can keep that rhythm going. All right, so we have that rhythm. So really even on that chord, those top 2 strings are really open, really important. Now, when you can hear that, you might hear this little 3-2-0. He doesn't do it every time, but he does it sometimes, especially at the beginning. So you might want to throw it in there, but then it goes to this A sus2, which is just that open A, 2nd fret there on the D and the G, open high, B and high E, so it's the same rhythm. Then it goes to a B power chord, the 2nd fret of the A string, and then the open A, hammer 2, pull back off the A, then 3-2 on the low E string. And then we're going to start this, that little thing. So we have this, so you're going to start the riff, and then you're going to jump back here. You could be doing it, but I'm just going to go over here. It's just a pull off from 5 to 4 on the D, over to 7 on the A. And then that's back to that rhythm on the 3rd fret, the C. And then it's a little different feel, pulling up that 5 to 4, then go back to that 5. So and then from there, just straight to A. Then it's the same exact kind of ending. And then it goes back to the verse without any kind of fill. So it's just straight through twice. And then it gets to this section where it kind of goes up to G, and it almost sounds like a pre-chorus, really, but I don't really know how to classify it. Maybe it's a chorus. But it just looks like this. By the way, he has like a weird phaser effect or whatever on here. Obviously, I don't have it on here, but there is a little effect being used here. You'll hear on the recording. But it looks like this. All right. right, so it's pretty simple. It's a G power chord. So it's just the top 2 strings on the 3rd fret, and then open G, open D. You're gonna mute the A string with the bottom of your middle finger there, and then you'll play the 3rd fret on the low E with that too. And then here you get, it's actually the bass is being held. So something. But I don't think Randy's holding that, but it sounds kind of cool to do it. So, but the bassist actually is. I don't think it was Rudy yet. But. So, but basically you can just do it like 3rd fret across the D, G, and the B, and then the 2nd fret, and then the 5th. So. Most likely how he's doing it. Or you can keep the G in the bass. So then there's a little slide or pick slide depending on where it's at in the song, and then he just repeats the chords again. And then we get back to the main riff. So this main riff is played a couple times instrumentally here, and the first time he adds this different fill, which I'll cover. So it looks like this. Don't think he's using a whammy bar. I think he's just bending his neck, but I don't do that to my guitars. So we're gonna start here with this couple hits on that E5. And then this lick is kind of, you would think that it's just a straight octave, but there's a muted hammer on from 10 to 12 on the low E string. And then he grabs that octave at the 10th fret on the A, 12th there on the G. So with this. And then the same thing, but with the power chord at the 3rd fret. And then same fill. And then I'll kind of hold the 2nd fret there on the G string, give a bar dive, and then back. And then we're to verse number 2. So verse number 2 does have a couple more fills in it. And these are kind of like the last fills I'm going to be covering in the song, because it's, like I said, after we get through this next section and the solo and all that fun stuff, it's just fills galore, and I've had enough. Anyway, so we're at verse 2. Looks like this. All right, so we have that little fill that happens kind of later on. You'll hear that lick a couple times in the song. But before that, we hear this kind of starts with the E power chord. Starts like it. So it's going to do the full riff. But it jumps to this. So double stop at the 7th fret across the G and the B. And then 8 on the B, 9 on the G. So then the same thing at the 3rd fret. And then he slides back and does those double stops again. And then the rest of the riff is the same. That a lot of times leads us into that kind of like pre-chorus thing. So at least from this time on. So we had this. So that one at the very end is hard to hear, but the beginning of it was not so bad. So we had this open G, hammer on 2, pull back off to the open G. And then 4-2-0 on the D string, kind of pull off. 4-2-0 on the A. This bottom one, you hear, it's just, you can't really hear what's going on. It could be 3-2-0, or 4-2-0, or 5-2-0. One of those. It's just so muffled. That's all you hear. But it just, whatever sounds fine to go into the G. It's goes so fast. Maybe there's three to 0. So, or 5 to 0. Into that G chord that starts that kind of pre-chorusy thing. All right, and then we get to the bridge section. So this is leads us into the solo here, but we have this bridge section that has this cool riff. Once in, it got a lot of little things going on in it. So it looks like this. And then from there we get to the solo there. So this this right here, it starts off with this B power chord. So this kind of B power chord. Do that, like hit that twice. 1, 2, 3 on the just the palm muted this A. And then a couple more hits on the chord. And from there it goes 2 on the A, 4, 2 on the low E string. Then it goes to this E power chord. Hit a couple hits. So then from there, a couple hits on that low E, and then you either play the 4th fret, pull off the open E, and hammer back on the 4. So it is. From there to an A power chord. So you hit that a couple times, the A power chord, then pull off 4, 2 to 0 on the A string. So this all together. They basically do that 3 times. From there, it does this little ending here where you're gonna grab this, you can do it. I'll do it like that. So it's kind of like that G power chord, but we're taking it down here to the 2nd fret. So you can't use any of the middle strings. So it's just you pick this low E string there, and then the top 2 strings on the at the 2nd fret on the B and the height. And then it goes to a D sus2. So it's like a D major chord, but it's just an open E there. And then that's when a little lick that starts the solo comes in. So let me play through the solo for you. Then I'll show you how to play that thing note for note. So that solo has got some, just all over the place. It's just very, very intense. Hard to get exactly like he's doing it, but we're doing our best over here. So let me just start you out here with it. We have this little harmony. It's not really a harmonized line. It's an octave line, so it's not true harmony or whatever. But we have this little... and we have a lower line. And there's like a little pick scrape there too. So you hear that pick scrape there, but it's kind of being done by the lower line. So if you're just playing it by yourself, you can just take it down 12 frets if you want to do that part, if you have a second guitarist in your band. But if you're just one solo guitar player, you can just play it up here. It probably sounds better. So we're going to start by picking 14, 16 across the E, A, and the D. Then you're going to hammer on 14 to 16. Then hammer on 14, 17. Then hammer on 14, 17 again on the high E. And then pull off to that 16. So we have kind of... The It's kind of more hammer-ons and pull-offs on the top 3 strings, and the bottom 3s kind of pick it. All right, and so like I said, there's a little pick scrape there. That's kind of done by the lower guitar part, because as that's going on, we have really the true solo start. All right, so you want to kind of jump into that. So that's going to start here with this. That's a bend at the 11th fret there on the G string, and then 9 on the B, and 9 on the high string. Into a bend at the whole step bend at the 12th fret on the B. So that's coming out of the. So after that bend, that kind of lick. So we start at the high E string, and then pull off 12 to 9 on the B string, and then you're gonna pull off 10 to 9 on the B string, over to 12 on the G, back to that 9 on the B string, and then pull off 12 to 9 on the G. So. And then we have this. So so that's going to start. It kind of starts off legato-y. So that's going to be. So after you did this pull off from 12 to 9, you're going to go 11, hammer on 12 on the G string, up to 9 on the high string, and then you're going to pull off 11 to 9 on the G, over to 11 on the D string. And then we have these last, probably want to kind of palm mute that, kind of control the strings so you can alternate pick them at the very end. So it's kind of quick, but it goes 9th fret there on the D string, then the 11th fret on the A string 2 times, and then back to the 9, and then back to the 11, just hit 1 time, and then back to that 9. So it's kind of a group of 3, and then another group of 3. So all together. All right, and then we get to this little descending lick. All right, so that's going to start here. It's easier to understand. Here at the 9th fret there on the G string. So you're just going to play the 9th on the G, over to 11 on the D. So you do that, then take it down a fret, another fret, all the way down till you get to the 4. So we have to, and when you get to the 4th fret, that's just going to be, instead of just when you get to 4, instead of doing that, you're going to hammer 4 to 6. And then you're going to pull off 5 to 4 twice. Then back to this 6 on the G string, and it's going to be a step and a half in with a pinch harmonic. So you don't want to sound like that note with the pinch harmonic. All right, next phrase. All right, so a little bit easier here. We're going to start here with this. Couple of pull-offs from 5 to 4 on the B string. Then you're going to pull off 6 to 4 there on the G. Then what you're going to do is, so it's same phrasing, but we're going to go 7 pull off to 4 on the B, then 5 pull off to 4, and then back to that pull off 6 4 on the G. So it's, and then in this little phrase. So it's kind of cool. So we're going to pull off, pick that 6 again, pull off to 4. To pick 7 on the D string. Then pick 6 and pull off 4 on the D. And then 7, 6 on the A string. So we have this. All right, next phrase. That's a weird lick. So it's kind of like knowing when to pick it and knowing when to kind of play legato. So it's going to start with nothing. All right, so I kind of started like this. We're going to pull off from, it's kind of like that 11 on the D, pull off to 9, and back to 11. So I pick the first note, pull off, and then pick that 11. So pick both 11s. And then over to 8 on the G, 11, back to 11 on the D, and then back to that 8. So it's kind of a little, kind of ascending like 3-note sequence. So basically what I'm doing here is like you're gonna, this second group of 3, this 8 on the G, 11 on the D, and back to that 8, heavily palm muted alternate pick. And then 9, 8, 9 on the G is the next group of 3, and that's heavily picked. That's alternate picked with palm muting as well. And then we're gonna go up here to this same lick we did here, but it's you can just do pull off hammer. So it's just pull off 11 to 9 on the G, and then hammer back on. Then what we're gonna do is gonna roll over the 9th fret on the B to the 9th fret on the high E string. And then this is, I know it's a weird note, but it's what's there. You're gonna pick this 11th fret there on the B string, slide up to 14. So, and then play 12, 15, and then pull off to that 14 on the high E. Or you can pick them, whatever. So it is. A bit of a weird one, but then we get to this next little lick. All right, so that one kind of moves around quite a bit, but it's consistent, so it's not that bad. So we're basically playing the 12th fret on the low E string, hammer to 14, and then slide up to 16. So we have this, and then hammer 14 to 16 on the A. Then over on the D string, you're gonna, once again, you're gonna hammer 14 to 16, and slide up to 18, over to 16 on the G. So is that like that? You do a hammer on there, but here, you just stop on that first note on the G string. And then what you're gonna do is come over. So this is the 17th fret on the high E string a couple times, 3 times. Then pull off to 16, over to 17 on the B, and then 16 on the high E again, 17 on the B, and then 15 on the B a couple times. All right, so all together. So now from this note, we have that little lick on it. So that starts out first when you get to your, it kind of slides off that note. So you kind of hear it side and the open string will ring a little bit. That's how it used to be when everything wasn't punched in and fake and everything. It's actually a real human being playing a real guitar through a real amp, being mic'd. And just, it is what it is. Our fingers make noise when we play the guitar, and there's gonna be some strings that ring out every once in a while. That's how it should be. Anyway, so he kind of slides off that note, and then he goes back to the note 15 a few times, pull off to 14, and then pull off to the open again. But then the second time, he pulls off to the 12th fret instead of the open. So it's kind of, and then from here, so this is then a couple of half-step bends at the 14th fret there on the B string. Release, pull off to 12, over to 13 there on the G. All right, next phrase there. All right, these things are all over the place. So we're going to start with a hammer on from 9 to 11 on the A string. Then you're going to play 9 on the D string. Then you play 12, pull off 11, pull off 9. And then you're going to go over to the G string, do the same thing. 12, pull off 11, pull off 9. So after you did this, pull off from 12 to 11 and 9 on the G. Bend the 11th fret there on the G. And then 9 on the B, roll over to 9 on the high E string. And then you're gonna, so that is gonna be 12 on the B string, pull off to 10, pull off to 9, then back to that 10, pull off to 9, hammer back to 10, and then slide up to 12. So altogether that phrase. So then we have that next phrase right there, which is kind of picking the 19th fret a few times. Picking that 19th fret on the high E string a few times. Then. So you kind of a few times by itself, and then hit it twice, and then pull off to 17, 16. And then you're gonna pull off 17, 16 again, over to 17 there on the B. And then 16 on the high E string, 17 on the B, and then 16 on the G. And you're gonna pick that a couple times. Slide down to 14, then down to 13. All right, so now we go up to a different key. We go up to G, and then we kind of start this like really driving kind of blues rock thing, or hard rock thing, whatever you want to call it. So it looks like this. All right, we'll stop there. There's a kind of little ending bluesy lick at the very end of the solo there. So that's gonna start with just kind of these unison bends. So that's a bend at the 18th fret, up a whole step, and then the 15th fret on the high string. You can just pick across it like that, or a lot of times you find me, I kind of hybrid pick it, I don't even realize I'm doing it. So you do that like 8 times or whatever, and then, so it goes. So it does this pull off from 18 to 15 on the B string. And then a bend to the 17th fret there on the G string. Then 15 on the B to the high string. And then back pull off to the pull off from the 18 to the 15 on the B. So it is. And then a big bend. You're gonna make that sound like a step and a half high. And so that little part right there is going to be 15 on the high E string, then 18, 15 there on the B string again, and then into a double stop here at the 17th fret there across the G and the B. And then here is kind of really, you know, it sounds like from what I know he does in some other solos, that he's probably doing something like this. But it's just so buried in the mix that sometimes it's kind of hard to hear exactly what's going on. So I'm going to kind of do that. I think it sounds cool. It's similar to what he's done in other solos, so it's probably something he's doing there. It's just kind of, that part of the song is just kind of, it's really hard to hear what's going on. So after this, it goes through these double stops down at the 15th fret. I'm just going to do that. So it sounds good. So it's just kind of bending those 15s there across the G and the B. And then we kind of quick little 17 pull off to 15 on the D and then back to 17. And like these are like, you're really hearing these. So you're barely hearing these lower notes. So he might be doing that, he might not, but you can't really hear what's going on anyway, so might as well do that. And then we have this. So that's a whole step bend at the 20th fret, release, and then pull off to the 19th. And then we have this last little lick, looks like this. All right, so let's go start with a bend at the 17th fret there on the G string. And then 15 on the B, 15 on the high string. So, and then pull off to that 18 to 15 on the B. Over to 17 on the G, back to that 15 on the B, and then 17, 15 on the G. So most of that, except for that 18 to 15 on the B, is picked. So it's like. And then for the rest of it, the bottom half of it, it's mostly legato. So you're gonna be picking the 17, pull off to 15 on the D string, and then you're gonna 17 on the A, 16, then pull off 15. So a little chromatic, a little blues scale. Then over to 18 on the low E string, and then quick little hammer pull from 15 to 16 back to 15 on the A string. And then pick that low 18 on the low E string and kind of bend it up. So the whole lick. All right, so coming out of the solo, we have this bridge. Now this bridge, at the very end of it, has this kind of a reprise of the opening lick to the guitar solo. A little slight different ending. And it also, this one has a kind of a pick scrape, and like the second time through it. Otherwise, it's just kind of the same thing. So it looks like this. All right, so pretty much the same thing, same ending. You can do this, sus2. And then this ending lick is the same that we did at the beginning of the solo. All the way to there, but he adds 2 notes at the very end, which is 14 on the high E to 17 there on the B. So everything else is the same there in the bridge, and then we get to the same verse. Now, this is like kind of the outro kind of verse sections. There's just a lot of fills, and I'm just not going to cover all of them. So a lot of them we've seen before. That kind of stuff is happening here, but he's going off. So we're not going to go through all that, but it's the same verse, so you can kind of like do a mixture of all the fills or come up with your own there. They're pretty much just the same verse though. And then that same kind of that G section, kind of pre-chorus and chorusy thing. All right, from there, it goes into really kind of like maybe a little bit more beefed up, kind of, you can do it with the same chords that you did in the intro. But it's kind of just kind of a beefed up version of the intro, but you can do the same thing. Once again, that's an approximation because there's a lot more than one guitar going on there. And then we had the little outro. It's probably just a kind of delay that they just repeat there, but it's just all it is this E power chord of the 7th fret there, which is kind of in the verse as well. And that is it for S.A.T.O. It's intense. Really great rhythm guitar work, brilliant lead guitar work, true legend. It's always fun covering his stuff, and check out my course, which is upcoming on him in the Academy. All right, I'll see you again soon.